Hey everyone, it's Stephanie and you are tuned into the review of Family or Fiancé, Season 1, Episode 1. So for those who don't know, I'm Stephanie Lee. I'm a therapist and a relationship expert, and I have been providing reviews for the show Married at First Sight for several seasons now. So I thought that it would be cool to try a new show, and definitely thought that Family or Fiancé on OWN was an interesting concept. So let's just jump in. So the show premiered last weekend, and it basically gives families the opportunity to chime in on their loved one's relationship. And each episode is going to be a different couple. This first episode was a couple by the name of, let me look at their names, Ashaki and Chris. So these people are in the house for, I think, 3 or 4 days. And they do experiments. They meet with a relationship expert, and they kind of have a dialogue about the relationship of the couple and their concerns. And this is a very interesting concept, and I know there's a bunch of families who wish they could have had the opportunity because this brings up a lot of things. So this couple, Shaki is 22 years old. And Chris is 29. Chris has 3 children from previous relationships or prior relationships. Ashaki does not have any children. And they all had representatives there to come and participate in this experiment with them. So, well, not so much an experiment, but in the weekend with them. So on Chris's side, he has his cousin, his sister, and his mom. And on Ashaki's side, she has her mom, her aunt, and her best friend. And so basically the show starts out with them kind of sitting there saying, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your concern and your care and participating with us. And the whole point is to kind of go through these exercises, get their concerns out, and also towards the end of the episode, the family and friends are supposed to kind of give their blessing or not, because we saw that happened, to the couple. And so at the beginning, some of the concerns were brought about, and I like the fact that they kind of had to stand there and take it. Whether it was something they wanted to hear, whether it was something uncomfortable, when they pointed to each family member to say, what are your concerns about a relationship, they had to say, thank you for sharing. And sometimes that can be very difficult. And the beauty about this space is that it's mediated. And so it's not a home where it's like, okay, no thank you for sharing. It's like we have to listen, and we have to not engage in anything that's argumentative, and just be able to kind of take it in and listen. So some of the concerns on his end from his family members was that he wasn't really ready. His cousin threw him all the way under the bus. But I like that he was honest, because we find out that his cousin was accurate, but his cousin basically says he's not faithful. I'm very close to him. I know what he does. He can't possibly be ready to be married. And his cousin said, for marriage, I expect a different level of respect and a different level of commitment, and he's just not there yet. And I know for a fact he's not there. The mother seemed to be all in with their relationship. She seemed to be very supportive. His sister was not supportive in the sense that she felt like they were rushing it. So that's his side. So he had a little bit of support, but 2 major components, they weren't about this relationship. Going over to her side, they thought her mom, her aunt, and her friend were not really about the relationship. They felt like she's too young. She's 22, he's 29. That's a big age gap. We're not talking about 30 and 39. The age ranges change depending on where you are in your 20s, in your 30s, where you are with level of experience and knowledge and things that you've gone through. 22 and 29 is a pretty big gap for the most part. And then their concerns also were that he has 3 kids. And so here you are, you're in college, you don't have any children yet. In their minds, it's like, you're carefree, girl. Like, why are you rushing to be with this man who has a lot of baggage? And why are you guys rushing to be together? And they were kind of concerned about the weight of those responsibilities. However, over the weekend, when it came out from Chris's cousin that he wasn't faithful, we start seeing, okay, let's really look into this dynamic, and their concerns now escalated to, this is not someone that she can trust. So we watch Chris and Ashaki have a mini session with the relationship expert Tracy, and she gave them an assignment where one of them was supposed to play, well, they all actually did it. They played a game at dinner where it was a bowl of questions that they were able to ask and you had to answer. I would say the entirety of the episode was really combating infidelity. Ashaki does not trust Chris, and if you watch the episode, you can see why. You know, one time she showed up at his house and he wouldn't let her in, and when she finally came in, she found eyelashes, and the whole story is that, you know, it was his sisters, and even his sister said it could have been me, you know, I'm there all the time, and something within her intuition didn't buy that. And that would be one of my tips. Like, if your intuition is telling you otherwise, that's a God-given gift. And so trust that, because usually when you don't trust that, you pay for that. And so her intuition was telling her, even though I couldn't really pick up on what it is, I don't really know, I feel something within me that says that something's not right. So a lot of the questions became regarding the fidelity or lack thereof, and he got really upset in the middle of the conversation. He was rude to her mother. She became very emotional, and he got up and got a drink, and it turned into a little bit of a circus, but naturally so. I mean, if anybody was sitting with anybody's family, you know, family members, and we're all sitting here having a good time, and you find out that we are having this conversation where you're not treating our loved one correctly, everyone is going to respond that way. So it just showed the dynamic of the whole village, how the village can be very supportive when things are going really well, but if we see some areas that we're concerned with, that village can turn very ugly very quickly. And so we watch Ashaki throughout the episode really struggle with her emotions and really start paying attention to some of the things that she wasn't seeing at the beginning. When we're in love, we're seeing, you know, all the good stuff, and we're thinking about all the exciting stuff, and we're basically in a proverbial pink cloud. Like, nothing is bad here. And so, like, people are basically walking around popping that bubble and are saying, look at this. And even his cousin on his side is saying he's not ready. So their relationship struggles within that because they're able to look at each other in a different way. We see that conflict for them, and conflict resolution doesn't really go as effectively as it can for them. What I would have loved to see is more of mini sessions with the relationship expert, her really process with them, what's going on, why that's going on. And also, if we have the family there, I thought it would be very cool to kind of have some mini sessions with the family and the loved one or the couple to really process the dynamic, because one of the most important things when getting married is the whole family dynamic. You're not just marrying just the person that you're marrying. We like to think that, but we are marrying, you know, our loved one's family. And also, even if their family isn't super active in their life, you are marrying who they have created. You're marrying a lot of habits, you're marrying a lot of values, you're marrying a lot of things that stem from the family functionality. So it's really important to get to know. So I would have really loved to see more mini sessions that incorporated all the people, because we kind of just saw 2 small sessions that really, I don't know, it didn't really touch on much to me. So I thought it would be cool to really see more in-depth sessions and really get to the meat, especially when they have such a heavy issue with the fidelity and why that's happening, and just some challenging questions like, do you want to marry someone? You know, that didn't happen. I mean, I'm sure it happened like throughout the episode, but within the session, do you want to marry someone who you even have to question at this point, or who gives you pause, or how did you guys get through that? Because it was also brought up that, oh, you know, we thought we had gotten over that and now it's coming back again. And she said, well, I don't think I really dealt with that. Well, how do you think you dealt with that? What did that process look like for you? How did you guys put a Band-Aid over that? Or did we? You know, sometimes we kind of just like to move on, and clearly we find out that Chris, you know, when they give an update at the end of the episode, that he was still lying, and he admitted to lying. So did we just rush through it so that we can avoid whatever's going on? So there was a lot of components that I liked, and more components that I wanted to see. And also there's another part where the family, her family, was able to ask her questions and give scenarios. And so that opened her eyes up as well, because one of the questions was, let's say you are taking, or you're about to take your final, and that's really important because she's in college, and you know, one of the kids need to be picked up and no one else is available. What are you going to do? Or what if, you know, the mother of his children takes you to court and your income has to be included in the child support? How's that going to feel? And she was like, I wouldn't like that, or they can't do that, or I would take my test first. All of these things that, no, if you had a kid that you had to go get, like, you know, the kid trumps everything realistically. And there is no, well, that's not really my kid. And just things that probably she should have thought of, but, you know, we don't think about it. You know, her goal was to show everyone that she could be a great stepmother. And it's always the fun part that we think about, like getting along with the kids and doing fun activities and showing that you care. But a lot of that aspect of parenting is sacrifice. And really, she wasn't aware of the level of sacrifice. So I really like that exercise where the family was able to come up with scenarios, and because it's her mother and her aunt, and her best friend too, but her mother and her aunt, the wisdom that came along with seasoned women, they gave her some really good scenarios. So towards the end of the episode, they worked out their stuff, but I don't really think they worked it out. I mean, it's obvious because they're not together anymore, but as I was watching the episode, I was like, okay, they're kind of putting a lid on this because we're exhausted with the emotional component, and we're just going to kind of move on. Their goal was to get the blessing. They got a blessing from some. Well, no, I think they got two blessings. His mom gave the blessing, even though it was a little concerning for her as she watched the whole weekends go on, and really a lot of things that she had never seen, but she gave her blessing out of support. His cousin, who really said he's not ready the whole time, and here he's been doing all these things, gave his blessings too. That was a little weird. Everybody else did not give their blessing. Nobody on her side gave the blessing, and his sister did not give the blessing. And they ended up not really working out because it just came to find out that he wasn't really ready. So this whole experience actually was good for them, because it's better to cut your losses before you get into something that is so much more difficult to get out of, and something that is supposed to be so sacred and beautiful. And if you can see and have the help of other people, especially people who love you and family, then that is definitely a win. But it always shows the dynamic of family and how those pieces all work together. The one interesting thing that I saw and that I was interested to see, or would have hoped to see, is just the history of where the fathers were. Like, there were no fathers on either side. Now, I don't know if they are in the picture or if they just couldn't come, but just therapist hat on, I'm wondering like what their dynamic is and what they have seen and what they've experienced and how much that plays into their relationships and choices and the things they accept and so on and so forth, the things they find acceptable. So that's pretty much it. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops. You know, it's a brand new series on OWN, and they have such great production and great shows and are building on this stuff. So I thought it was super cool, and family's huge when it comes to marriage. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you're watching. If not, you can start watching with me, and every week I will put on a video of a review. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when I post these videos. Everyone, have a great week.